Wildcat Radio Extreme Outdoors Coaches Show. Well, he's going to give it to Page straight up the middle, and Page is going to be hit initially, and now he's off to the races. There goes Page, 50, 45, 40. Page steps into another gear, and he's down the sidelines.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Monday Night Football edition of the Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning Wildcat Radio Coaches Show, coming to you live here from the Glen Baptist Church in Glen St. Mary, Florida. As always, each and every Monday night during the Wildcat football season. And since we're here talking the week after Thanksgiving, that means good news for the Wildcats. They continue to win, and we continue to come on Monday nights and talk about this football team. Oh, among other things that we'll talk about here on Monday night with myself. This is Mike Cruz and the head coach of the Wildcats, Coach Kevin Mays. How you doing tonight, Coach?
I'm doing good. You?
Yeah, doing good. It's Monday. I mean, Monday, I'm like Garfield, Garfield the cat. I'm kind of like one of those guys that just hates Mondays. But now that it's Monday night and
it's almost Tuesday.
Yeah, it's almost Tuesday. We can talk some football and maybe after the show even watch some Monday Night Football. And now, even college basketball started now. So every night you're going to get some hoops on the TV. So it's a good time of year, Coach.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, the fact we're still sitting here talking is good news for the Wildcats.
So, how was your weekend?
I had a good weekend. You feel good coming off a win like that. We had family in town. Obviously, they were here to watch the game, and we had a full house till about midday Sunday. But, you win a game like that, it's hard to ruin the weekend.
You had a lot of folks in town. I saw your oldest son was here.
Yeah, he flew in for Thanksgiving. It was a sore subject for a little bit because they flew into Orlando and went back to Brevard for a couple of days and actually spent Thanksgiving with my parents. Then they came up here Friday morning and he stayed the rest of the weekend and he flew out Sunday. Brian came up. He's lives down in Brevard. He drove up here, so we did. We had my whole family back, and then obviously mom, dad, sister, her whole family. We had a whole crew of people at the house.
So what? So the sore subject came in that his mom wanted him at your house for Thanksgiving dinner, and
yes,
he wasn't there.
He wasn't there,
but he got there Friday.
He did get there Friday, and we enjoyed time with him and got things figured out for him to come back home in a couple of weeks for Christmas. And like I said, we get through this stretch right here as far as teacher and school people go. And we got another little break, to get ready for the next semester.
No, that's good. That's what the Thanksgiving holiday is for, and you had a chance to spend some time with your family. That's good over the weekend. And I did get a chance to say hello to Brian before the game, and of course Blake. Blake's always here, right?
Yep. Can't get rid of him.
Yeah, it was a fun night Friday night, Coach. We were talking about this before the game, and I'll get into it as we talk tonight. But certainly, you don't get a chance to play after Thanksgiving very often. You don't get a chance to play in the third round of the playoffs very often. At least most schools don't. There's some schools, obviously, that are used to it every year in, year out. They'd be upset if they didn't get there. And, in the public school world, though, the third round's not a given every year.
Yeah, no, it's like I said, I told the team same thing. I might have mentioned it last week. I got friends that have been in this coaching business for a long time, haven't made the playoffs yet, let alone go deep in the playoffs. And my football career, I've been lucky with that stuff. I have been able to do it a few times, and it's a special time. And I think the kids have kind of figured it out too. I mean, you think of I think it's like 700 some schools play football in the state of Florida, and we're literally down to 32.
Right.
In 8 classifications.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and all of high school football.
Yeah, not just 5A, down to 4 in our class.
Yeah, not to mention what we said before, which was, there's between 70 and 80 schools in 5A, and now we're down to 4 that are left playing high school football here for the rest of the year, and that's where we come in. So last week when we started, you had Miami Killian and Miami Central playing down in Dade County. Over on the west coast of Florida, you had Clearwater and Sebring doing battle. And then on the east coast of Florida, you had Merritt Island and Satellite doing battle. And then up north, covering the north region, you had Baker County and Wakulla. Wakulla came into the game 10-2. They were 4-0 in their district. The Wildcats were 10-2. We were 4-0 in our district. both of us, and we had talked about this, both of us lost our 2 games early in the year, so within that first 5 games. So going into the game Friday night, both teams were on a 7-game win streak, and only one could come out of that with an 8-game win streak. The Wildcats win at 26-10. A great ball game for the Wildcat defense again. We'll talk about everything that happened during the game. But, Coach, I'm just amazed. This is the one thing that I've been thinking about ever since that game. Game 1 against Ed White, we scored in less than a minute. Game 2 against West Florida, we scored like a minute and 30, okay?
We were trying to beat it this time.
Yeah, well, you did, and I don't know if you can beat this one. So this past Friday night, we win the toss and we elect to receive, so we take the football. And was that in your mind? We're going to score quick?
The funny thing about it is, and usually the defense wants to go out there first. Every game in the playoffs, they have asked if we would take the ball first. And as good as they were playing, I told Brock, deal. We'll take it. And, you saw what happened. We got lucky, ran our normal counter play just to kind of see where we were at, and we wanted to run it at number 9, who we thought was their better defensive end to run at because he was very good at chasing us down from the backside. And Cam saw a crease, and there wasn't no one on the field catching him.
No, 68 yards on the very first play of the game, and so I don't even remember. Maybe it was 8 seconds, something like that were gone from the game clock, but it certainly wasn't a minute and a half, and it wasn't less than a minute. It was the first play of the game, and you can't. I don't know that if we get the opening kickoff this week and in the next game, we're going to be able to top that one, Coach. But
we'll try.
3. Well, the key here is 3 playoff games, and all 3 playoff games scoring on the first possession, right?
Yep, so. And you can't ask for better than that. You get the ball, and when that's the problem with when you elect to take the ball first. You got to make it count, and so far, the first 3 playoff games we have.
Yeah, right away if you're going to elect to receive after you won the toss, you're giving that second half kickoff away, which is not always super important, but in a tight game, your defense then has to come out and set the tone, but you've counted on your defense all year long.
Yeah, well, the funny thing is, too, the refs have now gone to asking us, what do you want to do? Because I have been a part of, in the past, kicking both halves because the kids mess up and say the wrong things.
Right. I've seen that happen before, too.
I think I've had it happen twice. So they had talked to their coach first, and he said that he was going to defer. So when I said, well, I want the ball, and he goes, well, you can count on it. So you kind of know even before the coin toss. I think the coin toss now is just for, pageantry, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, so we knew we were getting the ball, and, we talked to the offense, and here's what we got to do. And, again, with Cam obviously not being the biggest guy, he doesn't need much room. And he hit we see the end zone copy, he hits a very small hole running, and then there's not, there are not going to be many guys faster than him.
Well, it was a good night for football Friday night. The past few weeks, the cooler weather has rolled in, and some nights are colder than others, but it was a cool night Friday night, good weather for football. You get excited about that, but Cam Smith took that opening play, 68 yards to the end zone. We missed the extra point, so we're 6-0. Later on in the first half, Wakulla scores, and they actually take the lead. I think it's the first time we've trailed in the playoffs. Is that right? 7-6?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not thinking of that. Yeah, it probably was first.
Yeah, it was the first time we trailed in the playoffs. We pretty much were ahead of Ed White the entire time. And then, West Florida, we were ahead 13-3 before they scored late. So, yeah, I mean, that 7-6 lead that Wakulla had, I think, was the first time we've trailed in the playoffs. But then, we didn't look back from there. We came back. We got a touchdown to go back on top. So and then, we were able to kind of pull away late in a game where it was very tight, very nip and tuck. West Florida, to me, besides the defense that we put on the field, West Florida obviously had the best defense I think we faced this year. You may say differently, but
no, they were good. Yeah. And the funny thing about the Wakulla game, even though we were down, that was one of the games where, I wasn't as nervous. I was much more nervous during the West Florida game. Wakulla, we matched up better on both sides of the ball with them than what we did against West Florida.
Well, one of the things that Jackie and I talked about throughout the course of the game on Friday night on the air was that really, when you watch the Wakulla team play, now their quarterback was a decent quarterback, and he could throw the ball around a little bit. But when you watch their team play, they really had one kid on their offensive side of the ball that could hurt us, and that was number 2.
Yeah,
and
if you remember, we said make sure you guys watch him. He was good, and we felt good about like we contained him and stopped him, and I think we did. But you go back and look, he still had good numbers.
Well, he did, and I was telling John Meadows before you came in tonight. I mean, he's a football player.
But that's how good that he was. I mean, that's right. That's nothing against us, whatever. I mean, a lot of teams, when we were stopping him, he would have been loose.
Well, you remember what I told you about Union County playing Travis Henry in the state championship game. They gave up 300 yards to Travis Henry and won the game 67-30. They handled him, but he still had his 300 yards. So kind of the same thing. I mean, here's the Marion Smith. This guy was he was definitely a ball player. He would hit the holes, but there were key moments in the game when we got the big stops that we needed. The defense,
he took some big hits too,
and the hits, their entire offense. I mean, everybody that caught the ball, everybody that ran the ball, the quarterback. The number of sacks, the number of hits that we got on the quarterback that weren't sacks. I mean, the defense hitting wise on Friday night was just a clinic. I told some guys down at the Jaguar game yesterday, some of those news guys that were up in the press box, I told them, I said, you guys should have came to Baker County because if you went to some other game, you would not see the hits that you saw at Baker County. And
it was impressive to watch and to go back and watch on film with the team today. Watching that stuff, there was a bunch of times where they were and but it was big time to watch those guys. I don't know. To me, it felt like stuff started. Not that it hasn't, but it felt like that game. Everything was clicking that game. Things felt in control.
Even Smith, their one touchdown. When you go back to it, Camilo Ryland stops him 3 times. 3 times on the same play. They come back the 4th time and almost get stopped again.
Yeah, and there's some people down on that end that feel like he didn't get it. I thought as he was laying there, it kind of looked like he pulled the ball over, but it would depend on where you caught him down at. But you can't deal with some of the calls. You can't say anything, I guess, because you saw they got upset at me.
I understand.
Because of the one pass that was definitely forward when you go back and look at it on film, but that guy promised up and down that it was backwards, and that funny thing about that play, we work on that every day.
Yeah.
Anyways, with 2 weeks in a row, we will not call that again.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. I mean, I saw it, with the naked. So over the years, you're a coach. You get trained to see things with the naked eye, just like I do. So with the naked eye on 4th down play, it looked like Zamarian Smith just at the right moment kind of puts the ball across the goal line. So that's all I had to go on. He got hit though, and it would look like one of those plays where we were going to stop him. Same thing on the pass play. The pass comes out. It looks like it's going straight ahead. I can't remember the receiver. Maybe it was Cam. Maybe it was somebody else. But they kind of let the ball go because I think they felt like it was, a forward pass too. With the naked eye, it definitely looked like a forward pass. When the officials are in that spot, sometimes I think that they maybe want to overcall the game somewhat.
Well, the statement to me was your running back ran backwards, which he's not supposed to. I mean, Cam knows that he wasn't going to do that. But my comment to him, which got him upset and ended up giving me a sideline warning, was you can't watch the kid, you have to watch the ball.
That's right.
And no, Coach, he ran backwards. Well, he can run backwards all he wants. It's where the ball goes.
Yeah.
And,
Well, just because the kid runs backward doesn't mean the quarterback didn't run backwards twice as far.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
you can look on film. He throws it from behind the line and it lands in front of the line. Now, was it way forward? No. I mean, it was close, but it was forward.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't even have to be forward. It just has to be lateral. As long as it's lateral to the quarterback's arm, it's a forward pass.
Yeah.
It's got to be backwards for it to be a backwards pass, right? So
very true.
Yeah, so the kid himself, running backwards, whatever. Jeremy Height was looking at it on the replay up in the booth, and he was giving the clock guys, a mouthful.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
Yeah, they should have called down to and said, hey, we made a mistake, and let that guy know. Now, I will say later in the 4th quarter, when things were calmed down, I said, hey, listen, just so you know, we looked at it. It definitely was forward. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
sorry can change the course of a whole season.
Yeah, well, how about sorry let's make up for it here, Turn this thing around a little bit, The old football follies. My mom ordered Sports Illustrated for me when I was a kid, and one of the things that you got as a free gift with Sports Illustrated was the old VHS tape of football follies. Do you remember that, Coach?
I do.
So when you go back and watch that, one of the coolest parts of that football follies thing, and you can probably find it on YouTube now, I'm sure. But one of the coolest things was they had the coaches mic'd up. And who knew that NFL Films was that far ahead of their time, because they were taking these clips back in the 70s and 80s. And they were micing some of these coaches up, and that was one of the things that, and I'd have to go back to watch the film to get the coach right, but one of the coaches on the sideline, he's like, hey, you called enough on them. How about turning this thing around a little bit? That was his statement. So maybe your statement to the referee there with, hey, that pass was forward, could have got you a call, You never know.
Never know.
Pretty much the guy, just so you know, the reaction, I know you don't get to sit with the guys in the booth, but pretty much the reaction from the guys in the booth whenever we tell them about the horrible calls is pretty much no reaction.
That's usually what I get. I guess I said something he didn't like and threw a flag on me. That and I was out past the numbers.
Yeah, well, I saw the flag, but, fortunately it was just the sideline warning, not the 15-yard variety. But, what are you going to do? You hate to see it. I said that earlier about the officials kind of over-officiating, and what happens sometimes, I think, when they see those passes coming out to the side, they automatically think backward pass, but you really have to watch those kind of things. Do you remember the Buffalo Bills Tennessee Titans playoff game?
The Miracle or what
Music,
was it called?
Music City Miracle. Do you remember that?
That was close.
Yeah, Wycheck. Yeah. So Frank Wycheck was the tight end. He's the guy that came up, got the ball. And you remember they went back on replay, and they had to actually show the angle. His arm was here, and it was very close.
Yep.
But the point is the ball's got to go backwards, right?
Yep.
It's even lateral. But, man, the Bills were upset about that. Kevin Dyson. You remember that name? Kevin Dyson was the receiver for the Titans, I believe, that caught that pass from Frank Wycheck and took it to the house. Kevin Dyson was also the guy who was like a yard away from beating the Rams in the Super Bowl. You remember that? Kurt Warner and the Rams.
Right there on the slant pass, or
he
reached out for it.
Yep, almost there, got there within a yard. Even made the movie Castaway with Tom Hanks. Remember Tom Hanks came back, and after all those years he'd been on the island, he's talking to Helen Hunt, and she tells him, yeah, we almost won the Super Bowl. We got tackled on the 1 yard line. You remember that?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, anyway.
You just got tons of knowledge about nothing.
So much, yeah. So much knowledge about nothing. That's what my dad, listen, if you ever talk to my dad, Coach, he'll tell you the same exact thing. Just stuff I can talk about. But hey, great win. I was really just gonna take a few minutes to just kind of, celebrate with you on the defensive effort that the team gave. Offense, obviously we had 26 points, so it was a good night offensively, but we talked about the hitting. How many sacks did Orlando Holland actually have?
7 or 8, depending on if you want to call it, but definite 7. And he
the one on the sideline with the face, they call it face mask on the one on the sideline, which I don't know how he could have. I don't know how Orlando Holland gets the guy's face mask from behind. I think
Orlando has a very long reach, very long arms. I think the way he hit him, his shoulder hit him kind of at the neckline. I think when he wrapped his hands around, you don't know, but just my thought is if it was a face mask that his hands wrapped around and he just his hands hit the face mask. But he played outstanding. I mean, all those guys. I mean, you can sit there and go through them. All those guys that sat there and played Friday night played outstanding defense. I mean, they, from the fronts to the back, you talk about Camilo and Toby and Kaz. Ronnie, Carlos, Jamil Jones, DeHaven Clark. And
DeHaven almost had an interception on a great play on a pass over the middle.
You talk about Avery Spurlock, a lot of people, he didn't make a bunch of tackles, but when they were running power at him, he was squeezing and spilling, which was leaving the linebackers unblocked, so that a guy like that doesn't get credit. And then you look at, Yaman 9, in the middle, and then Tressler. Tressler to me, at playing defensive tackle at 160 pounds, I mean, he comes off the field like he has been in a war, but that kid gives us effort every play.
What about 45, Coach?
Kaz, you know, it looked like it clicked that night too with everything. You know, he was timing his blitzes right. Like I said, they were all over the field.
Yeah,
I mean,
no doubt.
The defense played outstanding that game.
They sure did.
That team came in and scored, 52 against Bishop Kenny and 32 against Rains. And like you said, 10 against us, and kind of questioned 10. And, you know, the 10 kind of, you could almost put back on that call on the backwards pass.
Yeah, well, it was. The touchdown. That was a touchdown.
We gave him the field. They got field position at, the 20 or something like that. I mean, so it was a short field even to give that up. So,
yeah.
They did. They all played outstanding.
Yeah, I was definitely impressed with the effort. You know, here's the thing. I haven't gone back and done the average on the number of points we allow each and every week. I know our scoring defense has got to be really good. But overall, you would know the stats in terms of yards and everything. But just the intensity they play with, and when you have to have it, you know, it seems like they can muster it up. Now We've made some penalties along the way. We've done some things where we've gotten those 15-yarders in some games. But I tell you, Friday night was as good of a defensive effort as I've seen in some time. And got to tip your cap to those guys. Orlando Holland, I apologize to you if you're listening. I said on the air to Jackie that he had 4 sacks and he would have had 5. You know, if the face mask sack wouldn't have gotten him, but I didn't even realize until I saw it the next day or so that he had 7, which I can't even remember all 7 at this point in time. But Justin Thomas was with us for the past several years, and Justin Thomas moved away in the off season, and Justin did a great job of keeping stats for us. So we don't have a stat guy this year. So everything that we have is just notes that I'm making as we go. So I thought that Orlando had 4 or 5, but my gosh, 7 sacks. That's just unheard of. Yep. It's like Mark Gastineau stuff, right?
Yeah, that was outstanding play. And then my wife just sent me this. Give him a little plug. I guess firstcoastvarsity.com has voting going out for the Northeast Florida High School Athlete of the Week. Orlando's on it, and he's winning right now. So anybody gets a chance out there, firstcoastvarsity.com. Go on there. Let's vote Orlando so he can win the Northeast Player of the Week, Northeast Florida Player of the Week. So something for that. I mean, people are recognizing that we have some players that are doing some great things.
We should put that on like somebody's web page or something.
It's on Wildcat. You can go on Wildcat Football Booster on I think this is Facebook.
Okay.
On Facebook, and go on there and vote for Orlando.
There you go.
Because again, you don't hear that stat too often.
So go to Wildcat Football Boosters Facebook, vote for Orlando Holland, First Coast Player of the Week, for sure. For sure, he deserves that for a 7-sack effort. Yeah. I mean, my goodness. Yeah, so Wildcats got into the end zone. Cam Smith had 3 touchdowns. He scored a 68-yarder to open the game, and he got in the end zone a couple of more times. And then on a pass play that gave us the lead back in the ball game later in the half. There, at the time it was a critical play. And Noah Ray looks across the middle, found J-Mod. He sat down, and when J-Mod turned to go to the end zone, there were probably 4 guys within 6 or 7 yards of him. And once he got to the 10-yard line, there was nobody else.
Yeah, you know, and it's even talking about going into this game because people are obviously, and we'll get into it, talking about Miami Central and speed and stuff.
Yes.
Those 2 guys can play with anybody as far as speed goes.
Yes.
You know, so
totally.
We still have, even though we're going to go play a team that probably is very fast, not probably, they are very fast. We still got 2 guys that can take the top off with them too.
Yeah, no. Listen, I totally get that. We're going to get to Miami Central in a few moments. We're going to shake out how those 8. I gave you 8 teams earlier in 4 games, and we're going to talk about all that in a minute. But before we do that, I kind of wanted to just walk through a little history lesson, you know, with the Wildcat fans, just so they kind of knew where this team stands in the place of history and in terms of what Wildcat teams have been able to accomplish. How do you feel about that, Coach?
It'll teach me something too, I'm sure.
No, I can't.
But I will say this. It's neat to do this, and I try to, you know, with I try to learn about the history of it too, and teach these kids that, because one of the fun things to do is when you go back and talk to your buddies or talk to your friends, or you get around to people. Hey, you know, what'd you guys do against Bradford? Well, what'd you guys? Well, how far did you get? How far?
That's right.
It's a little piece of bragging material for life.
Yeah, well, and this team has a lot to be proud of, and no matter what happens this week. Now, listen, I'm not saying that for any other reason than they need to go out and they need to win this game. I want them to beat Miami Central, but what I say here is no matter what happens this week, this 3rd round win is something that's only happened in Wildcat football history twice. And so we're talking about a lot of Wildcat football history. But when we're going to go back to since 1989, because 1989 was the very first district title that the Wildcat football team won.
We probably need to asterisk last year, too, because we actually lost in the 4th round, but because of COVID, that extra round, and people have said that, no, we played in the 4th round last year.
We did, we did, but it was a play-in year, and everybody, we'll talk about that in just a moment, because I did put an asterisk beside that, but it counts as a district title too. So, well, let me just tell you some things. So, since 1989, we've won 11 district titles. Since that time, though, there's been 32 years, counting this year, since 89. 16 of those 32 years we've been to the playoffs, so half the time. So basically 50% of the time. Now, what people don't remember is that it used to be tougher to make the playoffs than it is now. Making the playoffs is not a given now, but back in 1989 it was even tougher. You had to win the district, and that was the only way that you got into the playoffs in 89. So there were years when the Wildcat football team was 7-3 or 8-2, but because they finished, second in the district, they didn't make the playoffs. So, if you sat down and talked to Bobby Harrison or Danny Green or even Mike, Mike Gazdick was a guy that was around here for years and years coaching. You never had a chance to meet him, but he was Coach Gazdick to me. When I was in kindergarten, he was my PE teacher over at Westside Elementary School. But Coach Gazdick, he knew everything about the history of Wildcat football. And if you had a chance to sit down with Coach Bobby Harrison, you could learn some things as far as the history goes. But the almost next best thing is to talk to his son Greg, because Greg Harrison knows high school football in this area. And the state of Florida as good as anybody. But go back to 89, that first year. So the asterisk that goes beside that 89 team is, since there were only district champions that made it to the playoffs, you only needed 3 rounds in 3A at that time to make the state championship game. So we won in the first round in 89, beat Zephyr Hills, and then went to Live Oak for the second round. Well, we were already in the Final Four then. So after that first round, they were in the Final Four. So technically, we have 3 regional, not technically, historically, we have 3 regional championships. It just looked different in 89 because there were less teams in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So 3 regional champions over the course of the last, 32 years, 11 district titles, 16 playoff appearances. And here's the kicker, out of those 16 playoff appearances, we've got 17 overall wins, and we've lost 15 times. So in those 16 playoff appearances, we've now played, 32 games, about to be 33. So a lot of football. 3 region championships that I said, and when I say region championship, that means state Final Four. So we made it to the state Final Four 3 times, and then 1 state runner-up, which everybody will remember from 2017 with the loss to American Heritage. So that's a little bit of the history lesson. Now you could go inside each of those years, and we could talk about it for a while. Some of the good years and some of the bad years. Actually, when Bartram Trail, how good Bartram Trail is now. When Bartram Trail just opened as a school back in 2002, we played them in the first round here, and we beat them. So we are actually 1-0 all time in the playoffs against Bartram Trail. A little stat knowledge that people don't know. Bowles got our number in the playoffs back in the 90s. We played them twice in a row. In 91 and in 94, Bowles put us out in the first round. You move on down, to the 2000s. We got wins against Madison County. Huge win in one game there. So I think if you go back and just look at our overall playoff record against Madison County, we're 1-0. Wakulla, we actually lost to Wakulla in the first round years ago. I want to say it was 2000. Don't quote me. I think it was 2000. Let's see. I think it was 1996. So in 1996, we lost to Wakulla first round, and then this year we evened it up. So we're 1-1 now with Wakulla all time. West Florida.
I want to say, sitting there talking with the guys that played here on the coaching staff, they had said up until then they didn't think that we'd ever beat Wakulla.
Yeah, that's right. So, I'm just talking playoffs now. So
I thought they were kind of saying they kind of thought it was ever. Yeah.
Well, just in playoffs, we were 0-1 until the other night, so now we're 1-1. But then you take a team like West Florida, we're 2-0 now against West Florida. First time was to go to the state championship game back in 2017, and the second time was this year. So Pretty cool. But anyway, so going back, just to give you those stats one more time, 16 playoff appearances in the last 32 years, 11 district titles for this Wildcat football team, 17 wins in the playoffs, 15 losses, 3 regional titles, which is the state Final Four, and then 1 state championship runner-up. And so, that's a lot of teams over a lot of years there, over the last 32 years, with a lot of guys with a lot to be proud of. And, Coach, I'd really like to see, I talk about these things, I mentioned the fact that I'd love to see a sign in town that says, Class 5A state runners-up from 2017. I'd love to see something at the stadium that has all these years up there.
I have definitely made plans to try to do something like that and to put some of this type stuff around the stadium. Obviously, we started talking about it a little bit before the season about what we wanted it to look like.
Yeah.
But with the season, it was hard to do this stuff. So hopefully in the off season, we can get a chance to put some of this stuff out there, because with the tradition that Baker County has, it should be celebrated at the stadium somewhere.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
It was, that 2017 state runner-up should be around there somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah. And for all those guys that come to the stadium and they walk past that, they can show their kids, hey, you see that 2017 team? I was part of that team. Or even, hey, you see that 89 team, the first team that made the playoffs here? I was on that team. Those are things that would be cool for people to be able to see. And when you go to other stadiums, you'll see that. Like when we were over at Swanee, you see those years and things. I think the proper word would be memorialized, right? So I think we're doing a great thing when you walk in the stadium now, and you got the brick foundation going in down there. I'm going to make sure I'm a part of that at some point in time, and then I would love to see those playoff years up there, because 16 playoff appearances is kind of a big deal.
Well, and you want to, I always, I graduated and then ended up coaching at Palm Bay High School for a long time in Brevard. They put up a board humongous when you went there.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to be there when they won 2 state championships, but it did. It said playoff appearances, district champs, region champs, Final Four, state runner-up, and champs. And you walked in there, and as an opponent, you walk in and see that big board there. To me, you're like, well, these guys know what they're doing, and I'd like to do that somewhere at our stadium. So people walk in and say, "Yeah, this is a football county. This place likes football. Look at look at all the success they've had." And then, like you said, it is bragging rights for someone to walk out. Well, I got 2 years up there. How many did you got?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's right. I think that would be cool. So let's go back to the bracket, Coach, and the games from this past Friday night. So we know now that Miami Central got that win against Killian, and Killian actually went into that game undefeated, right?
Saturday, yep. Well, we watched it Saturday night. They were streaming it a couple different ways. Killian was 12-0. Miami Central was 10-2. And I think when we left here, and maybe on radio or off the radio, we had said that I really thought Miami Central was going to win that game.
Yeah.
So we kind of had it drawn out who we wanted to win, because I wanted to set it up so we could play Merritt Island first.
Yep.
We needed obviously we won. Merritt Island won handily.
That besides our game, their score was the other lopsided one.
20.
The other 2 games were Central wasn't close. I guess.
I was actually sitting on the field after our game, and Sebring was winning.
It was 10-9, and
it was something like that. And then it came over, and someone said, "Hey, the game's over. Clearwater won 12-10."
They posted it early.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all right, sounds great. That works out just the way we wanted it to. Easier travel, easier everything for us to go to Merritt Island. And I actually told the team, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
Then we get back to school, and I get on there and start looking, and is this right? Is this right? This can't be right. So they told me it was wrong. And Sebring must have kicked a field goal
to win it
late to win it 13-12.
12, whatever it was, yeah.
Which made Merritt Island the 1 seed. They were the 4.
Yep.
Central would be 2, we'd be 3. So that puts us traveling 5. I mean, this morning it said 5 hours and like 8 minutes to get to where we're going to play at Traz-Powell Field.
Traz-Powell, yep. Big stadium in Dade County.
It is. Yeah. It's a nice stadium. It's in the north part of the county. You look at the pictures, and it'll be a neat environment to play in. It's like I said, it's not at the high school. It's a municipal field. But, just to let everybody know, we are playing at Traz-Powell Powell Field. I think we put that out there a couple different places. Don't go to the high school because no one's going to be there.
Yeah, I saw Daily Growl put it out there today, and I was talking to some folks over the weekend about Traz Powell, and there's a lot of history. You know, I just mentioned I was talking with this is something a lot of folks probably don't know. We're talking about, you know, just Miami in general. You know, so we over the course of all those years I just talked about, you know, none of these Wildcat teams that we've talked about have played anybody from Miami. I mean, that's just we just don't normally do it. Just like we don't normally play teams from Pensacola. But the last few years we've had a lot of history with them. So maybe we'll start to build some history with the Miami folks now. But I was talking to some folks just here about, you know, some of the notable guys that have come through the Miami Central high school there, and let me just see if you know any of these names, Coach. Najee Davenport.
Heard of him.
Antonio Brown.
Yep.
Well, Willis McGahee. Ali Highsmith, and then Demetrius Bird, and then you've got, come on down to the most recent years, and you've got Devonta Freeman and Dalvin Cook. You ever heard of those guys?
So, Dalvin Cook sounds familiar.
No. Yeah. I mean,
they got some guys right now that that'll be on that list. They got some guys right now that'll be on that list.
Yeah.
And I told the guys today, I said, obviously you can't hide stuff from them anymore. They can look the same stuff up that you're looking up, and they're good at it. But I told them today, obviously, they put their leg in their pants one leg at a time. They're 15 to 18-year-old kids.
That's right.
And, you know, I said there's probably in the whole state, there's only one little small group of people that think we're going to win that game, and that's this group here. You know, you go back and look through history. Upsets happen all the time, and if we play like we can be in this game. And I told these guys, you know, some of our guys, to me, are very good football players. Well, it wouldn't surprise me around Traz Powell Field. You see a bunch of big-name college coaches this week. I mean, we're during the contact period.
Sure.
We had a couple coaches come by school today. You're going to see probably some head coaches floating around the field. And, you know, the best way to get yourself out there is to make yourself look better than the guy they're watching.
Isn't that something? And that's kind of the thing. I mean, people that are associated with football, especially in the state of Florida or any state, once your team's out, you watch the teams that are left. And right now in 5A, there's only four teams left. And there's only 2 games in the state that are happening this week. So one of them is going to be in Miami. And, yeah, I mean, shoot, who knows? You could have some Miami Dolphin players there. You could have Miami Marlin players there. There's no telling, and especially, you know, at Traz Powell. What's the game time, Coach? 7:30?
7:30. And everything's on GoFan.
Everything's on GoFan.co. You'll make sure that Jackie and I have a pass and all that.
Yeah. Yep.
I was just saying that kind of sarcastically. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to being there. And all the years that, you know, we've been doing this, you know, I've called a couple of state championship games, one with Union County and one here with Wildcats, but I've never called a game in Dade County. So it'll be something new to me, you know, and I'm excited about it.
He's expecting a big crowd, too.
Yeah, I talked to a couple of folks yesterday down in the press box, and they said that normally for a Central game you see a big crowd, you know, which was kind of odd because, you know, when we played American Heritage, the Wildcat fans down there, we outnumbered American Heritage fans like, I don't know, 20-1. I mean, it was unbelievable, the lack of support that American Heritage had compared to the Wildcats. Now, Miami Central is going to be a different deal. It's a neighborhood thing. You're going to have all those guys out there, so it'll be
and American Heritage.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, this is not taking anything away from them.
No,
but they haven't been around successful for a long period of time. Central's been there a long time.
Yeah. Well, I just named all those guys.
Yeah, know. I mean, they've been there a long time, and they have a bunch of tradition and stuff there, and you know, it's and it feels like a big game. I have to be on a Zoom call Wednesday to go over all their security protocol that we have to follow. You know, so. Never had to do that before. So it'll be a fun experience for these guys. I mean, there were some guys today, Coach, we've never been to Miami. Well, you're about to be.
You're about to. Give it a couple days.
Yeah, we're going to be in and get out, but you're going to be there.
Well, they've got a couple of things on Wikipedia that you may not know about them. Their colors are green and white. So if you think of the New York Jets, that's what you'll think of when you see the Central uniforms. And the name is similar because the school opened in 1959. The school mascot and colors were chosen in honor of NASA. and the inception of the space program. So the Miami Central Rockets is who will play Friday night, and they'll be in green and white. So, Coach.
That's funny. They're not real close to NASA, but.
It is funny,
Yeah.
but the inception of NASA must have happened around the same time. Miami Central opened up. They went green and white, and they're the Rockets. So you think about that, the New York Jets and Miami Central Rockets, they wear the green and white. So, Coach.
I think their helmets look similar.
Yeah, that's what I was told. So you get so all this fanfare, we're talking about all their guys. You know, at the end of the day, it's a football game. You know, like in the movie Hoosiers, they walk out there and measure the goal. You know, it's still going to be 10 foot. The football field's still going to be 100 yards. But, Coach, what are we going to see from them? What do they like to do offensively and defensively?
I'll be honest, they're actually very simple. But they have 5 or 6 number 2s, you know, across the field.
Yeah.
Number 2s from McCullough.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Defensively, again, they play what they do. They're coached very well. I mean, you're going to see a good team. They, you know, the biggest difference they have is you're going to see that they play a 2-quarterback system, and their quarterbacks are very elusive. You know, so if they pull the ball, if we don't play discipline on defense and they pull the ball, we could be in trouble.
Yeah.
Offensively, we're going to have to do what we do. I mean, they got a defensive end that's going to Clemson. They got a safety that has 48 Division I offers. I mean, they have some well-known players to the college world, and that's what I was saying. There will be a large group of college coaches somewhere that our guys can prove themselves to somebody. And we talked about that today. And, you know, you get worried about it because you can look at the hype that's around this team. I mean, they flew out to California and played St. John's Bosco.
Yeah.
On the way home, they decided they wanted to play Bishop Corman the next week. I mean, it's a nationally ranked team.
And known. Yeah, they're known. Yeah.
But I didn't see any fear in our kids' faces today.
Good.
They bring it is the feeling kind of that I got from them, and that was a great thing to see. And, you know, they're going to put 11 on the field. We're going to put 11 on the field and see what happens.
Yeah, all that stuff, you know, I love to kind of share knowledge with the Wildcat fans, you know, so I wanted to share the history of our playoff appearances, and then I wanted to share some information about their school, you know, because it's a big deal. Listen, 25 years now I've been doing Wildcat football on the radio, and we've been to exactly one state championship game, okay? So the chance for us to make it past the third round and have another chance in another state championship game within 5 years is incredible. So it's an exciting time, you know. So I want to learn as much about the opponent as possible. But the point that you just made, I think, is the most important point. When their offense goes on the field, unless they get a penalty flag for having too many men on the field, they've got 11. And our defense has 11 guys. And so I think that we saw after that game against American Heritage settled down at halftime. Unfortunately, it was a running clock. Not that we were going to win the game, Coach, but I think that the guys saw that after the game settled down and that second half opened up and we were able to go score some touchdowns against American Heritage, I think our guys realized that. Yeah. But I think before that, the moment got too big for them, you know. And before you know it, you're sitting there looking at a running clock at halftime, which stinks for a state championship game. But we were able to come back and get 21 points in the game, you know. So that was important.
And you think about it, I mean, if we can get by Central, the state championship game's a big step down. And that's no disrespect to Merritt Island or Seabright.
More winnable.
It just is.
Yeah, more winnable.
It's a big step down in talent and everything.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like the RPI system, because it shouldn't be that way, but we don't have to get into that.
The only thing that I was going to say about that, Coach, is exactly what I told you before the game. And, you know, the stuff that I read about it was, you know, basically what the FHS – so folks who read the bracket and probably saw that if we won that game this past Friday that we were going to play Merritt Island, well, that's what it said on the bracket,
Which
right?
the same travel, and I'll get into travel here in a minute. But
yeah, well, that's what it said on the bracket. But this year – the FHSAA, in their brilliance, did something different than previous years, because basically what happened is they reseeded those teams after that round. And so once the region finals are over, then they reseed everybody. And so, you know, the word that you get from the guys who are part of that board that elected to do that is, hey, we want to see the best 2 teams possible in the state championship game. And I think your point is even better than the point I was going to make, and we'll talk about that just for a moment. I don't want to get off on that note, but basically what they decided is that they would take the chance away from any small schools like Baker County and those schools that come from, rural areas or public schools that have just had an amazing season, never been to a state championship, and now you get that run to go to the state championship. Well, now what they've said is, hey, before we do that, we're going to put a big roadblock in front of you and make you go to Miami Central and win that game to get to the state championship game. So, and their brilliance of trying to get the two best teams in the state championship game, they really can't do it, because in 5A, the point that you made is so right. You've got other teams like American Heritage and others that have already lost in the playoffs that could be what you'd call a couple of the better teams in the state.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get the two best teams in the state. What you should do is put a bracket out there, let guys go through the bracket like we did back in 2017, and hey, if Hickory gets to the state championship game, so be it.
Yep.
And those guys earned it, and I hate it. I hate it more so, I guess, for our kids than anything else, because these kids have the run that they've had. They certainly don't deserve to go to Miami Central right now. They
don't. And like you said, I mean, Miami Central's already beaten American Heritage. They've already beaten Killian in the playoffs, and arguably those could have been the number 2 and 3 seeds in all of 5A.
Yeah. Yeah. So if your goal was to get the two best 5A teams together, you could arguably say American Heritage and Miami Central are those two best teams.
If you're just looking at it without no one playing,
that's right.
That's how you would think how it was going to work out.
So my response to the FHSAA, and you don't have to say it, I would say it, because they don't care about me. I don't work in the school system or anything like that. I could say it. Well, you failed this year. If that's what your goal was, you failed, because you already lost the two best. Whatever. But bottom line is, we're going there. We're going to play them. Now, what do they do on defense, Coach?
You
already said they have some guys.
They're a 4-3 and play multiple coverages. They'll play man and cover 2 a lot, and like I said, they just got guys out there, and they're coached really well too. You can tell. So we talked. I talked to their head coach and to their AD, and they look forward to hosting us. And like I said, we go down there. I wish it was waiting to play them until the state championship game, but we're going to go down there and give it our best shot.
Well, I want, if we have any of our guys listening tonight, go out there, give it our best effort. Let's go win this football game. Even though we're talking about Miami Central here and all the guys they've had and all their history, hey, football game this Friday night still yet to be played. We got to go there, and they got to beat us just like we got to beat them, so we can go win this game. And there'd be nothing better than our first trip down to Miami to play a game like this. We get that big win, Coach.
It'd be outstanding. So you need me to fill some time for a minute?
Well, we were going to talk about some other things, but what do you got?
Well, I'm just going to let everybody know. So, Obviously going to Miami, travel is a big issue.
Yeah.
I don't know what else is going on in the state right now, but we called Annette and Academy charter buses, all sold out. So we had to call a place called Mike's Limousine, which is the charter company that, I don't know if you noticed, but Wakulla and West Florida both
did notice,
out of Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Just to get the football team there, it's going to cost $14,000.
Holy cow.
Every bus after that's $5,500. So people will see out there on Facebook that there are a few of our organizations, be it football, cheerleading, and the band, are asking anybody out there that can give donations, because that kind of money really hasn't been budgeted for. Now, we're going to figure it out one way or the other. Obviously, we're going to get everybody there, but just give it a shout out to people. If you know anybody that's interested in helping, there's some organizations, there's some groups of us looking for some help to make sure we can get our buses covered to get down there. Because you're talking, when it's all said and done, it wouldn't surprise me if we're upwards $25,000, $30,000 in charter buses to get football, cheer, and band down there for us to go to Miami.
Wow.
Thanks. We could have gone to Merritt Island for $10,000.
Yeah.
Because we're leaving out of school about 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Wow.
We're going to stop a couple places, obviously stop and eat, and then get down there, and then we're not going to be home till 3 or 4 in the morning. So you put all that time together. The bus companies have to send an extra driver with us. That has to be that. It's a complicated issue. So, but you talk about the money, and then if we do win, we have to turn around and do it again. Probably play a 1 o'clock game. At that point, we have to stay in hotels. Put all that price into it, and that's the system we're put into.
Yeah.
And I think we are in a system where we're lucky enough that we're going to make it happen one way or another. But you could take some of these other schools that there's no way they could figure out how to make all this happen, and it's a big cost, a big expense. But you we don't want to sit there and just take the football team down there and leave the cheerleaders and band here. They want to go, so we want to try to figure out how to get them there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's a lot of money, Coach. I wish I had a big checkbook. I'd write you a check right now, but I don't. But if anybody's listening.
And they've put stuff out there on Facebook and stuff, so that's if people see that.
Yeah.
That's the actual figures that it's what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's a big number, Coach. That's the side of all this that people don't get to see.
Yeah.
And that's a shame.
And we called Candies, Academy, and Net Busing, all the busing companies that we knew to call. Whatever, something's going on, or charter busing's real popular business right now because they were all sold out.
Yeah. Well, you got me on a downer there talking about how much money that's going to cost, but somehow or another we'll figure it out, right?
Oh, it'll be figured out one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, this community comes together, and then the school system will do what we have to do, and it's more on us kind of at the school system, which we're all together. I guess I shouldn't say that, but we're going to do everything we can. But obviously, asking for some help because those of us that can do it, it's going to take our accounts down to zero, and we still had other plans to do things for the kids.
Yeah. All right, well, there you go. Well, it's going to be a fun night. It's going to be exciting. We're going to get a chance to go down there to Miami Central under the lights in Miami, playing against a team that we talked about. Now, record-wise, we have the same record as they do, or 11-2. Wildcats are 11-2, and I think Central. I think their record shows is 10-2, but I think they're 11-2 also.
I think they missed a game.
Yeah,
so
that may have been what it is.
Yeah.
But they went undefeated in district play. We went undefeated in district play.
They went undefeated in Florida play.
Yeah, in Florida play. When they went outside of Florida, they lost. But there you go. So, Coach, I'm excited about it. I'm rooting for the Cats as hard as anybody. When we are on the air Friday night, we'll be on the air with excitement, just as we have been the last several Friday nights and all season long. And it's been a great year to watch. I'm glad we had a chance tonight to talk about some of those individual efforts we had from the other night, because some kids, really played well. If I didn't mention you, I apologize. Believe me, the last thing I want to do is leave anybody out. But I tell you, that game against Wakulla was a special game to watch. The game against West Florida was special to watch. Cam Smith breaking off that touchdown run to start the game the other night, 68 yards. I almost came out of my chair. I mean, it was awesome. And hopefully we can see something like that again this Friday night, and I'm looking forward to it. Not looking forward to the drive, but I'm looking forward to the game. And I'll be there with you, Coach, so make sure you let them know that Jackie and I are coming.
I'm actually doing it right now.
There you go. So, if you want to ask them, just ask them if they've got room in the press box or if we need to plan to be outside or not. But we can talk about that off the air. Coach, did you get any chance to watch any of the rivalry games this past weekend?
I did watch some of them as much as I could. Again, people running around the house everywhere, but I did. Which
one stood out to you?
The funny one that I would never thought I got interested in, I actually enjoyed the Bedlam.
Oh, man, that game was exciting.
Yeah.
A lot of offense.
I enjoyed, and I don't like Big Ten football, but I enjoyed Ohio State, Michigan. I found it amazing that Fox stayed on TV for like 30 extra minutes just to show the Michigan celebration. I don't know if you watched that show.
I didn't.
100,000 people on the field just going crazy, and they watched it for a long time. That was it. Of course, we tuned in. I had Michigan, Ohio State in one, Florida State on the other.
Yeah, I wish the TV networks would figure it out that, there are certain games that the majority of people in the country are going to watch, and you need to put those games on opposite of each other. I wanted to watch Ohio State, Michigan, and give it its due, right? But I had to resort to putting it on the second TV, and I just check the score every now and then, which kind of stinks because I want to watch every play of Florida State, which – if you listen to any of my friends hear me say that, I'm going to, I told them I was going to watch the Friends Marathon that was on TV because I was done with the Gators. But, of course, trust me, I'm watching every play. But, I was excited to see Florida actually play with some intensity and play with some heart, which is something that they haven't done this year, which kind of troubles me even more in the sense that team could do that. It bothers me when a team is lost like that, and you have a team where you come out and you play a rival on senior day, and somehow or another now you can find some intensity and heart that you didn't have earlier in the year.
Yeah.
That kind of thing bothers me to some degree. However, a win against Florida State's a win against Florida State, and we'll take that all day long.
Bowl eligible.
And when you watch a catcher,
what bowl would they go to?
Oh, probably like the Birmingham Walmart Bowl or something. But doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Florida State's not going to a bowl.
I got it.
That's what matters. And you now have the what not to do on an onside kick that you can show Blake Mays that, you know.
Oh, we watched it a couple times.
Which should have never happened because Anthony Richardson had a first down on the drive before that when Florida was ahead by 10. And they reviewed it and still said he didn't get a first down either way. And the other thing is Florida scores 40 in that game if Anthony Richardson comes in and plays somewhere in the second quarter of that game. Florida probably scores 40 and it's not even close, but they end up winning by 3. But either way, they won the game. It was a good win. They played with intensity and they played with heart. And hopefully this new guy that they're bringing in, Napier, will be able to get that type of heart and intensity and enthusiasm every week. You know, that's what you hope for as a team.
Yeah, we talked about that. I've met him a couple times. He seems to be a really good guy, and obviously he's doing a good job because he did where he's at. He's doing, and he was at the time he was I don't remember if he was the offensive coordinator or the receiver coach for Alabama, but he was recruiting one of the receivers that we had.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, I tell you, I had a chance tonight to hear. I had a chance tonight this afternoon to listen in to the radio voice from Louisiana. He was talking to some guys on 1010 today, and he talked about Napier being a great character guy, team guy, wanted good guys on the team. So I'm excited about that part. You know, you want guys that we'll see. We'll see. You never know when they bring in new guys. You never know what's going to happen. I was really hoping they could find somebody that was a Florida guy. You know, like Georgia's found Kirby Smart. He's a Georgia guy.
You didn't like everyone chanting for Deion Sanders?
Well, hey, I heard what RG3 said during the game and what he
wanted Tebow.
Well, yeah, well, he didn't say he wanted Tebow. What he said was, you know, think outside the box. You know, that's what his message was, think outside the box. He just threw some names out there which are outside the box thinking.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny that people hear one thing and they say this is what he said. That's not what he said. He said.
Yeah, because I heard it from hearsay.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
Yeah, what he said was people should think outside the box, and maybe your standard guy that everybody's talking about is not where you need to go. He said, how cool would that be if Deion Sanders came to Florida? You know, that would be pretty cool. And I think there's some people that would agree with that. I wouldn't, because he's a Florida State Seminole, and I wouldn't want him to be our coach because that just wouldn't make any sense. But the funny thing about that is, you know, Gene Deckerhoff, who's called football for Florida State forever and ever and ever, and is one of the best radio voices you'll ever hear, you know, he's Florida grad, which is, you know, kind of funny when you go back and think about all that. But anyway, I just, you know, Tebow obviously couldn't be a head coach. He's never been a head coach ever. So that's not something that I'm sure RG3 was even insinuating. He was just saying you need an outside the box. In the same sentence, he said Ike Hilliard, you know.
Yeah.
So Ike Hilliard's a great name, you know, and Florida receiver, went on to play in the NFL. You know, you need somebody like that can come back that has passion for the school.
As well as sport and all that.
Now, I get it. It's business. Nick Saban didn't go to Alabama. I get it. You know, and hopefully you can just find that guy.
Did you watch that game?
I did. I watched some of that.
I don't like overtime after a certain point.
Well, I mean.
But I guess you don't want the game going on forever, but just go down one play.
Well, the whole reason college put in overtime is so they didn't have ties anymore. Remember the old days? You know, you had to go for 2 or you had to go for the tie in the old days because you didn't have overtime. So they said, hey, if we're going to have overtime, you got to play. You got to play till somebody wins.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah, I get it. I just to go down and give it what they had. They get the one play after 2 regular overtimes. They go to one play basically.
Yeah, you go to the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
And yeah.
One play to win a game like that.
That's right.
Yeah, it is what it is, I guess so.
It is. I don't necessarily like that part of the rule.
That's the part that I was talking about, just that part.
Yeah. I mean, they've got the other piece where when you should get to the second overtime or better, you got to go for 2.
Yeah.
I mean, those are things that they've done to try to give somebody a win. Yeah, it's tough. But, yeah, that play, the one play from the 2-yard line, I don't like. Yeah. I don't like that rule. But, hey, Coach, looks like I just heard from my buddy Wildcat Tim Hughes. He says he wants to get in on some of that bus ride stuff, so maybe we'll give him a call after this show. And I appreciate you taking time to come here for an hour tonight, and let's talk about Wildcat football. Hopefully there's some folks out there that listen to the show tonight, learn some stuff about what we shared with them, and hats off to the team, and congratulations to every single player on that football team for making it. Regional champs, good win against Wakulla.
We had to buy our trophy today. So it says that you got to buy your own trophy.
Yeah, well.
But we're going to have that trophy's going to be sitting around somewhere. So those kids like seeing that stuff. So we purchased the regional champ trophy today.
There you go. Regional champs, and Coach May, something good for you to put on your resume down the road. Congratulations.
It is. I don't need a resume anymore.
You know what I mean. How about this? List of accomplishments. You know, I don't mean you're looking for jobs. I just mean,
people start asking me, where you going?
So let me rephrase that. Something to put on your list of accomplishments, Coach, and congratulations. I mean, huge win, and I was super proud of the Wildcats, and I'll be super proud to be there this Friday night. So I'm excited.
I appreciate it, and we're going to need all the support we can get down there. So we looked it up. It's 5.5 hour drive, which about the same as what we went to Pensacola last year. So we are doing it in a day.
Yeah.
And we're going to take good care of the boys going down there, and hopefully they're going to take good care of us.
Yeah, hopefully
with a big win on Friday night.
I'd love to see it. There'd be nothing better. But our hour's up, Coach. 7:30 game on Friday night. If you're heading down to Miami to watch the game, you got to get your tickets on GoFan.co. So make sure you do that. And the kickoff's at 7:30 down there in Miami. If you're headed that way, we'll see you down there. Thanks, as always, to Glen Baptist Church over here. John Meadows putting in the extra hours with us. And thanks to Oscar Gray and the folks down at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning for bringing us this Coach's Show each and every Monday night. So, Coach, we'll see you Friday night down there at Traz Powell. And go Wildcats.
Good night.
This is 97.5